In today's lesson, we'll be learning about common factors. More specifically, we'll be looking at binomial common factors. If you recall, a binomial is made up of two terms. Here are the key concepts for today's lesson. We'll be focusing on this concept today. In our first example, we want to factor this expression. The first step is to rewrite our question. 3x multiplied by y plus 1 plus 7z multiplied by y plus 1. I want you to think of these terms as a single term, and I also want you to think of these terms as a single term. What do these two terms have in common? They have y plus 1 in common, and that is considered a binomial because it is composed of two terms. Therefore, we can factor out this y plus 1. Because y plus 1 is a binomial, let's keep it in brackets when we factor it out. We can use the same method that was used in the previous lesson, but once you get good enough, you don't really need to do this step. We're going to recopy everything. And we're going to divide it by whatever we just factored out, which is y plus 1. As you can see, we can simplify this further. When you have something divided by itself, it becomes 1, and 1 pretty much disappears. So that would cancel out, that would cancel out, which would leave us y plus 1 multiplied by 3x plus z. And like I've mentioned before, you can always use the distributive property or the FOIL technique to double check your answer. In our second example, we want to factor this expression. The first thing you want to do is rewrite the question. Again, we want to treat these terms as just two terms, so it is a little bit more simple to understand. What do these two terms have in common? They have x minus 3 in common. Therefore, we're going to factor out this binomial. I'm going to keep x minus 3 in brackets since it's a binomial. And I'm going to rewrite what I had up above. When I factor out a binomial, what I'm really doing is dividing everything by that binomial. So I'm dividing by x minus 3, and I'm also dividing by x minus 3 here. When you're dividing something by itself, it cancels out because it's equal to 1, and that 1 pretty much disappears. Therefore, we're left with x minus 3 multiplied by 2x minus 5. And again, you can use your distributive property to double check your answer. In our last example, we want to factor this expression. Again, the first thing you want to do is rewrite the question. I want you to imagine these terms as two terms. We need to ask ourselves the question, what is common between these two terms? R plus u is common between these two terms, the binomial r plus u. Therefore, we're going to factor out r plus u. And everything else is going to stay the same. When we factor out this binomial, we are dividing everything by this binomial. When something is being divided by itself, it cancels out. Therefore, we are left with r plus u multiplied by 4s minus t.